Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking some time out to join us this afternoon here at the World Endurance Championship, the FIA World Endurance Championship Circuit of the Americas, pre-event press conference, opportunity for you to ask some questions in a little while. First of all, let me introduce our panel for you. From the left-hand side as you're looking at it, Paul Dalla Lana from Aston Martin Racing, Mike Conway, Toyota Gazoo Racing. In the black, in the middle, is Ricardo Gonzalez. Good afternoon to you. Then, from Tequila Patron ASM, Scott Sharp. I don't know why I'm reading these, I actually know them. Pat Long is next up, one from the end, and Fernando Reis from Aston Martin Racing on the far end. All of these drivers, those of you who have a mind for these things, have some connection with either this event or indeed with the Americas, North, Central or South America, and representing all of the classes. We'll start with, I think, on the far end, Fernando Reis, Aston Martin Racing. Welcome back, I should say. How do you feel about being back in Texas and here at the Circuit of the Americas?
It's a pleasure to be here and racing this track. Does it work?
Yeah.
So it's nice here. I love the city and the atmosphere and the American fans. So it's a pleasure. And the track is very fun too. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Been a reasonable season for you so far. A couple of rounds, more than a couple of rounds still to go, of course. We're in the second half of the season, the flyaway now. Really get down to some decent business now. It's all concentration running towards a championship.
Yeah, I think we were lucky that, that Ferrari didn't manage to get the results that they deserved. So that puts us still in the play for the championship. But we'll see how it goes in this race. We're suffering a little bit with the BOP since Nürburgring. And I think this race will be difficult again. But yeah, we'll try to make the best out of it, and count good luck wouldn't be bad. So we'll try again.
Got some questions that have come in from the fans here, and I'll drop them in as we talk to the guys. This one is for Fernando. It comes from @Miss She tweeted into using the hashtag AskWAC. If you could change one thing, it can be anything, but only one thing in the FIA World Endurance Championship, what would it be?
Hard to say. Probably putting Interlagos back.
I think you'd have some friends on that one. Good luck for the weekend. May have some more questions for you later. Next to you, Patrick Long, Dempsey Proton Racing. Hello, Patrick.
Hello.
I know you enjoy coming here. Talk a little bit about this circuit. It's an interesting design. Formula One circuit, relatively recent circuit, yes, but it is challenging here. It does provide an interesting compromise between the straights and the corners.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel a little bit of a parallel with COTA to what Miller Motorsport Park in Salt Lake City was. When we first showed up as Americans used to the traditional tracks that we have around this country, you're a little reluctant to jump right in and start singing praises, but it grows on you as you start to find little bits of character and how to find tenths of lap time in different corners. The part of it that never took any time to love is the city. I think it's a great representation for people who come from all over the world and want a taste of America. I think it has a very progressive side and a very traditional side, and I think that those two blend into a great representation. So the more I come back here, the more I enjoy not only the racetrack but the city, and I hope it's a long-standing stop on our schedule.
I'll throw you a question from one of the fans as well, if you don't mind. @JimmyB84 has asked, you are inextricably linked with Porsche. However, if you could drive any other car within your class, which one would it be and why?
That's a difficult one. I think you always wonder how it is to drive in other types of cars. I've had the chance to race in different series where Porsche doesn't compete, such as NASCAR or V8 supercars. So I've been fortunate enough to get to try mid-engine, front-engine cars when Porsche's not competing. But in the end, my heart is sort of in a 911. It sounds cliche and obvious, but I'm a total sell over to the 911. I collect vintage 911s, so I'm driving them on the weekends when I'm not at the racetrack. It's a unique driving style that's not always easy. It's not always the best car to have on the weekend, but I enjoy working with my engineers and trying to get them to work the best they can. But From the competition standpoint, Aston Martin has surely set a high bar this year in the GTE M class, so you always want to know what the guys that are pulling the most weight down the straightaway, what it's like to drive one of those cars, but all of them strike my interest. I'm a car guy in general, but I'm happy where we're at right now.
Thanks, Pat. To your right, we have Scott Sharp representing Tequila Patron ESM. Afternoon, Scott. You feeling well?
Doing great.
Good to see you, sir. Tell me a little bit about the WEC experience for you and the team this year. It was a big leap to come into it. You didn't start the way you would have wanted to. How do you feel you're settling in both yourself and the team?
It's been a little bit more of a challenge for sure. You know, as you alluded to, you know, starting with the chassis and changing 3 different chassis in a short amount of time wreaked havoc, I think, a little bit on the team and wore them out. But as well as for all of us, you know, I mean, Ryan knows most of the tracks, and David knows some of them, but everyone else, this is pretty much all new to us. So you feel like you leave every event and you're like, geez, I wish I could just go hit the rewind button and start over. So, but there's been some moments that have been great and kept us all going, and it's just been, I think, hard for us to put it all together. We've had to make a few different changes, I think, personnel-wise, and made some changes coming into this weekend. And I think we all expected just the chance to come back after being in Europe and race on, you know, our home track, and a track we all know so well and really enjoy. Would be hopefully a very positive experience, and you know, first session went probably the best session we've had all year, so hopefully it keeps going the rest of the weekend.
And thoughts about, we're not anywhere near the end of this season yet, but thoughts about next year. Will you be back? Do you want to be back? Has it been a positive enough experience to feel that you guys have got something to come back to here in the FIA WEC next year?
Well, we'll definitely be back. I think you end up, a lot of ways, I mean, I think we feel like there's huge momentum here. With the WEC, it fits almost perfectly in what Tequila Patron's goals are right now. They've got an unbelievable saturation of the U.S. market, and their future growth is all coming from their global expansion, and that's at its infancy in a lot of the markets. And I never would have thought, like Germany, for example, is the #2 tequila market in the world. You know, you never would think that, but it is. So it really matches up to the markets quite well. I mean, we went to China last year. They launched Patron there. So it's, I think it really works well for them right now. And in a lot of ways, you know, as we're seeing, we're learning so much, unable to maybe capitalize quite like we like when we go to some of these races, but for next year, it's paving that ground, so definitely we'll be back.
I think there's a lot of fans will be pleased to see the bright green and black back next year. Thanks for that. It's good to hear. Ricardo Gonzalez, G-Drive Racing. Hello, Ricardo. Nice to see you again. Everybody's talked so much about the city and the track here. It really is we're really kicking off the second half of the season here in the FIA WEC in terms of the flyaway races. The European season is now done. For a team like G-Drive, talk a little bit about the intensity and the logistical commitments that it takes to do the rest of the season of the FIA WEC.
For me, this is a local race. It's the only race that I don't have to travel far, and it's in the same time zone as in Mexico. But definitely things change now. Everything's managed from far away from the
home base.
From the home base, and no, they don't go back. They go from here to Asia, and so definitely it's a struggle. Once you have an accident, hopefully that does not happen. I think it gets very challenging at that point. As long as everything is held in one piece, then everything runs a little bit smoother. As when you're in Europe, you always go back to the base, and you can work on the cars and much different.
And in terms of the challenge this weekend, clearly one of the things is going to be the heat. And anybody who's in a car with a top on is going to have to deal with that. Are you ready for that?
Apparently not. After the first session, I figured out that I'm not. But yeah, I think it's the same for everybody running a closed car. I was actually discussing that with Scott earlier, and it's going to be a challenge. We already saw some of it in Germany, which is it was quite hot also, but the humidity here is a lot tougher than what we saw in Europe.
And finally, the circuit itself and its location, you mentioned it effectively being your home race, being so close to your home company. How important is that for you as a South American, as a Mexican driver, to still have something that is accessible to your fans, whether it's physically or at least on the same time zone?
It helps a lot because we also get more media coming to the event from Mexico, so it gets better coverage. And for me, definitely, it allows me to have more time in Mexico to do my business and then short travel within the same time zone. So it's nice to have a close-by race.
We wish you all the best, and hopefully your fans and your media will enjoy it as much as you will. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's pass on down to Mike Conway from Toyota Gazoo Racing, defending champion here, of course. Mike, under conditions last year that looked like they're going to be considerably different from this year around. What hopes for you and for Toyota here this weekend? It's been a difficult season for the team.
Yeah, it's been a tough year, and the rest of the year is going to be tough. But we just got to kind of ride it out, really learn as much as we can about this car and put that into place for next year in the updated version of the car. So it's hard, and already at the start already we see there's quite a big gap, a bit bigger than we thought, to the front running guys. So yeah, it's just what we got already. We just got to keep pushing all the way to the end, and just the way it is, unfortunately.
Probably a question that should be asked to the team management rather than you, but when or if do you start thinking about next year? Because you clearly haven't quite got the package this year. Are you already letting yourself slip away, or do you have to keep your focus very much on what you're doing in the old soccer parlance, literally one game at a time?
Well, I suppose we were thinking about next year's car quite early, when as soon as you knew what everyone else had. So yeah, I mean, it's such a flip from last year. We had quite a dominant car that could win most races, and this year has been the complete opposite. So, but it just shows you the rate of development and how exciting the championship is. So you know, you can't relax for 1 second. You've got to keep pushing all the way and keep pushing the development. So it's kind of exciting as well for next year, knowing that how much time we have to find, where we're going to find it in the hybrid system, the engine, the car. It's got to come from everywhere. So it's quite cool to see what everyone's up to back at the factory, all the designers, you know, all the things coming, all in the pipeline for next year. So I mean, they're already working on that, and even though we've got to finish out the rest of the year, you know, you've got to keep pushing all the way to the end. That's basically get the best result we can. You know, we can maybe get some podiums here and there if we're lucky. So we've got to aim for that, and but next year we'll come back stronger.
There's a wry smile when you talk about next year. I suggest that things will be a bit better. Good luck for this weekend. Mike Conway from Toyota Gazoo Racing. Last part by no means least, Paul Dalla from Aston Martin Racing. Paul, lovely to see you again. I'll start with a question from one of the fans, if I may. This is coming to the WEC Twitter feed using the hashtag AskWEC. And can't see who this one's from, but it says, being the non-pro driver in the team, what do you or can you learn from Pedro and Matthias? What do you feel that you have taken away from your teammates this year?
Yeah, that's one of the great benefits of the format of AM, where we have you know, quite a combination of skill sets and experience. So in my case, you know, I think really the guys show me what's possible in the car, and you know, setting that mark is something for me that probably, you know, less technical improvement, more, you know, again, just a sense of what the car is capable to do. So, you know, it's great to have people that are as experienced as Pedro and Matthias as well, and really just showing me the way. It gives me much more confidence to sort of get up.
And now you are. How A, you enjoyed that, and B, do you feel that's affected your confidence either positively or negatively?
Yeah, no, I think it's been a great change this year. So, you know, now this year you know, the qualifying format includes both one pro and one AM driver. So, you know, in my case, that means I'm out there every qualifying, and you know, I think it's the spirit of the class, number one. So it really sets down the fact that, you know, for an AM environment, you should have AMs driving a decent amount of time and hopefully qualifying. So, you know, I like it. It's a slightly different mentality, obviously, to get the most out of one lap when, you know, we're really all focused on endurance and, you know, six hour drives. But, you know, that's the exciting part, and to do sort of, the average of 2. I think it's a cool format. It's different than most series where it's just an outright fastest lap.
Serious question. How often before this season had you had a new tyre low fuel run to do?
In WEC, not that often. I had the benefit of coming up through Rolex and Continental Tire here in America, and so obviously I qualified those cars with my teammates. I had some experience, but here, it was nice. So good to feel that car 40 kilos lighter, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, wow, oh, that's what it feels like. Okay, guys, thank you very much indeed. Take any questions from the floor.
Despite the tough weather conditions with heat and possible rain, humidity, do you feel that being back in the States, home soil, do you get any sense of a home field advantage when you race here in the States now?
Good question. I don't know so much a home field advantage, but certainly within the team it's a great advantage. I think it's just a sigh of relief in everybody. The travel was easy. Like I said, we've all been here. We know that the track very well. We've had success in this track. The chassis won last year, so you have to think all that together. You walk in here much more confident in some of the places you've never been to before.
Question, thank you. Anyone for any more? One at the back, I think, Fee. Thank you.
This question is for Patrick. You guys placed at Le Mans this year. You have plans on going back next year. I talked to Patrick, he said, well, we'll see.
Yeah, it's funny. Obviously, we had a great result, and it's boosted the morale and a lot of motivation. I think the progress of the whole program has everybody enthusiastic, but it's easy to forget that we're only sort of just getting into the second half of the year, so it's pretty early to talk about next year. I think there's a lot to still uncover, not only in the pace of the whole group, but also going east and learning some new racetracks for Fuji, Shanghai. Those are new racetracks for myself and Patrick. We went to Bahrain and pre-ran there, so we have a little easier sleep before we get there, but it'll certainly be some more to uncover, but we're really enjoying the season so far, so I hope that we'll be back.
Time for one more if there is one. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Jonathan Ingram from RacingToday.com. For Mike Conway, it's for the development of the LMP1 cars. It's kind of easy to imagine it all comes down to engineers and computers and energy efficiency. Could you talk about the role of the driver in the development of these very sophisticated cars?
It's quite a unique challenge really to drive the hybrid car. To start with, you got to learn how to get the most out of the system, and the engineers build the systems, but ultimately we will push them to the limits and find out what the most efficient way is of driving it when we're in the car, and then obviously they'll have ideas as well afterwards. But as a driver, you always push everything to the limit, to the boundaries, to see what it's capable of. They may have certain numbers on a computer, but at the end of the day, you kind of tell them if that's possible or not, or we need to go another way around this. There's a lot of information coming back and forth from the drivers to the engineers and back to the factory. And when you've got 6 drivers in the team, not every driver is going to remember everything or have the same feedback, in a whole race situation or testing. So all 6 of us giving back the information, it really speeds up the rate of development as well. So it's good having that many on the team to give back the information and speed up the process.
So basically the answer is the human element is not dead in motor racing. Thank goodness for that. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, gentlemen. Have a great weekend. Be successful, and most of all, be safe. Ladies and gentlemen, show your appreciation in the usual way. Thank you.